Let's take a look at the numbers for this fight, the tail of the tape. Dennis Andries, clearly the biggest difference between the two is in age, where Andries is 11 years older than Jeff Harding. 36-25. WBC rules are in effect today, the 10-point must system. There is no standing 8, no 3 knockdown rule, and a fighter can only be saved by the bell in the final round. And only the referee can stop the fight, and the referee for today's bout is Arthur Mercanti, the 70-year-old ring veteran, one of the great referees of all time. The seconds are being cleared. We are ready to go for the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship of the World. Jose Juan Guerra, Chuck Giampa, and Tom Kazmarek are 3 scoring judges. Everything's in order, and away we go. Dennis Andries, the challenger, wearing the gold trunks. Clearly you can see Andries across the front. Jeff Harding wearing all black. And Alex, we can only hope.
Yeah, the odds makers don't think it will be as competitive, Dan. They've made Jeff Harding a 2-to-1 favorite, better than 2-to-1, primarily because of the site. Boxers traditionally have a terrible time performing at their peak after the long trip to Australia.
As Alex mentioned, the last fight was dominated early by Dennis Andries.
You see there, Jeff Harding trying to move to his right, away from the Andries right hand that gave him so much trouble, especially in the early rounds of the first fight.
Jeff Harding has always been a fighter willing to take 2 to give 1. There you saw right hand from Dennis Andries. That last left really hit the gloves, but still had enough on it to move Harding back.
He has been willing to trade the pass, Dan. I think Jeff recognizes it when he steps up to...
There's a good solid right hand. He hit the glove, but still knocked Harding's glove back into his face with enough force to snap his head back.
I was just saying, I think Jeff realizes that when he steps up and tries to go for one of those unification fights, he cannot be so willing to absorb punishment.
And it is a grim and determined Dennis Andries here in round number 1. Halfway through the first round.
Jeff Harding knows that he can't depend upon lightning striking twice. He cannot allow Dennis Andries to get off to that kind of a lead again. Then the right hand.
Neither fighter had much trouble making the 175-pound weight. Andries, in a real change of pace, came in at 174 1/4. And as Alex mentioned, he had difficulty making weight a year ago and blamed that on his performance.
Both fighters doing a little bit better defensive work. Harding is blocking some punches with something other than his chin.
Jeff Harding told us yesterday he even planned on flipping punches, something he's been working on, and that would be a revelation. Good double jab by Andries, followed by a solid right to the ribs.
So despite what Jeff Harding said about knowing he had to get off to a faster start, Dennis Andries has set the pace here in the opening round.
The majority of the good punches in this round have been landed by Andries.
He's been getting off first. Jeff Harding has been waiting a little bit too much.
The Australian crowd is as quiet as their fighter's been here in round number 1. Here we go in the second round. Well, and again, it's Dennis Andries that comes out swinging.
And loading up more this round.
Well, you heard Emmanuel Stewart between rounds 1 and 2 telling Dennis Andries, stop throwing the right hand to the body. I want you to keep throwing the right hand, but I want it to go to the chin, not to the ribs.
And that's very unusual for...
Oh, and there is that right hand that goes over the top and lands.
Very unusual for a trainer to tell his man to not work the body. Generally, they try to get him away from head hunting. Here, Emmanuel wants his man to go after the head.
Very reminiscent of the start of the last fight. It has been Dennis Andries exacting a toll on Jeff Harding.
He has not yet cut Jeff Harding, and that's going to be an interesting thing to watch, Dan. This fight was originally scheduled for June 2nd. It was postponed because a cut that Jeff suffered in his last defense in March reopened in May, and it was postponed until today.
I was going to say, you say that like a guy that doesn't have a lot of confidence. We're not even 4 minutes into the fight, and
well, remember, he was cut about 30 seconds into the first fight.
He opens up easily.
He opened up everywhere in that first fight. Over both eyes, broken nose.
Bleeding from the mouth.
He has not yet even begun to find his rhythm.
Well, he hasn't let his hands go at all.
And that may be because he's concentrating on learning new things. It's always tough, you know, to learn things in the gym. Again, the Andries right hand gets home, Dan. Jeff Harding is a key. You can just see him thinking in there about the things he's been learning from his new trainer in terms of movement and defense.
Maybe Jeff Harding thinks because he's the younger man, the longer this fight goes on, the more it suits me. But still, it's a strategy that's based upon taking a lot of punishment if that's intentional.
Good jab by both men there.
And again, Jeff Harding, though, with the left hand a little low, pays for it by letting an Andries right come over the top.
Crowd excited by a little bit of Harding work, but a lot of those were slaps.
Again, the right hand from Andries. Now Harding is doing a good job most of the time of keeping both gloves up alongside his face. A lot of Dennis Andries' jabs are catching gloves.
There's a little bit of movement from Jeff Harding. He tried to throw a punch with it and missed badly. New thing.
Still, I think Jeff Harding's opinion of Dennis Andries in this fight all boils down to his one statement. He's a year older and I'm a year better. We've got 10 rounds to find out if that's true.
That's the sort of him out. All right, nothing wrong.
I didn't take a point. Let's hear a corner.
We're a boxing match. I'm going to take a point off him if he does it again. Now look, son. You've got to fucking stop that right hand. You've got to keep that left hand up high. Now look, he's dropping his right when he's leading. He's dropping his right, so you've got to lead in there and left. Try and step inside it. Get your right hand up and step inside it and give it to him. Come on, son, you can do it. Come on, you can do it. It's hard. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. But we knew it wasn't going to be easy, didn't we? Yeah. Now get out there now. Come on, and bloody will get that work off your bloody left hand. And jab, jab, jab. And don't stop, son. Come on, you can do it. Come on. Come on, down. Don't worry about it. Come on.
Both fighters out of their stools a good 10 seconds before the end of the break. Anxious to get the third round underway. We are here in Melbourne, Australia at the National Tennis Center. I'm Dan Deerdorf along with Alex Swallow, and we're here for the WBC light heavyweight title fight. The title that's held by Jeff Harding, the Australian, formerly held by Dennis Andries, the challenger there on your left. And Alex, the first two rounds clearly belonged to Dennis Andries.
Yeah, I thought the second was a little bit closer, but still gave it to Andries. You see Harding trying to move to his right occasionally, Dan, to stay away from the Andries right hand. It is not something that's natural for a right-handed fighter to do, and he looks very awkward trying to do it.
There is Emmanuel Stewart, the head honcho of the Crown Chin. He spent 3 solid weeks here with Dennis Andries and blames Andries' last defeat on the fact that he didn't arrive until the night before the fight in Atlantic City. Says, I let him down. They've been here in Melbourne for 2 weeks, where Dennis has even wowed the locals, Alex, by even talking about moving here to Australia.